Welcome to this special edition of The Daily Show. We're here in downtown Whitesburg, standing outside the parlor room where I've gone inside, met with John Heywood, an artist who did a tattoo for me. So this community's got a lot of exciting things going on it, but part of it's because of these young people that are creating their own jobs, are very entrepreneurial here in Whitesburg, Kentucky. Well, welcome to this edition of The Daily Show, and we're here at the parlor room in downtown Whitesburg with John Heywood. And first of all, I want to say you're never too old to get a tattoo. I'm an aging baby boomer, and so I heard a lot about what John's great artwork. I lost my parents, and I'm from North Dakota, and where the buffalo roam, and so many times my parents would take us out and we'd look at the buffalo. I was always fascinated with them, and so in order to honor them, then I wanted to get a buffalo with my parents' name, Floyd and Merle Daly, on it. And so I heard about John in the parlor room, and so I decided to come here. And he says once I bulk up and get more muscle, the buffalo will even look better. But John, so happy to have you here on the program. Again, John is a great visual artist. He's a great musician. He's just a very creative person. And then he created the parlor room here in Whitesburg a few years ago. So what brought you to Whitesburg?
I don't know, really, just homesickness. I'm from the mountains, from this area. And I moved away. Being an artist, you're kind of encouraged to leave a lot of times. People will tell you that opportunity is elsewhere. And for me, I moved off and I got to experience a lot of things in city life. I didn't move too far. But Louisville, I got to study art there. I got to become a tattoo apprentice living in that area, and learned a lot of skills that I probably wouldn't have learned here, actually. And once I started to get homesick and tired of living the city life, I wanted to live get back to the country. I didn't identify with folks in the city when it came to roots. I think I needed to get rooted somewhat, and the mountains, as they call you back over and over again. And at the time, I was working for a guy named Big Daddy Trey, right off of Fort Knox military base, and friends of mine were starting to move kind of back to here, Whitesburg area, and there was this like a little art scene sort of developing, or people were sort of paying more notice to it. And as I was becoming older, becoming a father, I wanted to be closer to family, raise my kids around family. I wanted to raise my kids in the mountains, where I was raised, because the city has a lot of good things, and it is a great place to raise kids. There's a lot of opportunities in the city, but I just kind of wanted my kids to know where they come from, to know where we come from, and so we came back here. We wanted to be close to family, friends. I wanted to be near the mountains, and
well, you're an artist. What is the value of art? And of course, part of this is you have created a business that's employing several people. But what is the value of art to you?
To me, the value of art is more valuable than even money, because for me, art represents not only are you making things, but the time spent creating, the time spent drawing is very rewarding, and it's challenging. You go through so much when you're drawing or creating a piece of art. Frustration, accomplishment, fear that it's not going to turn out. It's almost like when you're drawing and making art, you can tune the rest of the world out, and tattooing is a way for me to be able to well, I love tattoos, and the whole world of tattooing is something I've always been interested in. But as an artist, it became a very viable way for me to support my art habit. And it's just because I think about when I come in here, and I think about moving to a place like Eastern Kentucky, because I was tattooing, in the greater Louisville area, and tattoos are a lot more expensive there, and a tattooer is making a lot more money there. To me, the important thing is that I get to do this every day, that my day consists somewhat of getting to draw and create art for people.
Tell me then how you prepared for my tattoo. We had a conversation.
Right.
I sent you a picture of a buffalo I took. They're in the Badlands of North Dakota. So what was the process that you used then to create the stencil and do the work?
Right. Your tattoo, every tattoo that you do is different. Traditional side of tattooing, people come in and they have a design, they pick a design off the wall. Well, when I was first learning, you pick designs off the wall. Now everybody brings in their cell phone, and a lot of people bring you the same designs over and over again, and they want you to do just like that. But we also do these days more custom tattoos than anything, really. Most people don't. Some people appreciate a design from the wall, want to do that. But most people tend to have an idea of something unique and custom that they want. And it's always a compromise. When you're coming to me, what you want, I have to take into consideration always what somebody else wishes, rather than me just doing my own thing. That's every tattoo. Even when someone tells me, I want you to do your own thing, there's still stipulations usually that they don't want this or that. So when you came in, you sent me a photograph. You're a photographer, and you sent me a photograph of a buffalo that you had taken, and you wanted a tattoo based off the buffalo. You also sent me another close-up shot, more of the head, because in the other photo, the head was very dark. You couldn't see a lot of the detail. So my job is to my first job is to try to get into your head a little bit, and to try to figure out what your expectations are versus what I see from a technical standpoint. There's so many different little factors that go into play. I also try to think about why a person chose me. Because there's certain types of tattoos that I don't do. Like, I don't do photographic realism. I know tattooers that specialize in that, and I send people to those people. So when someone comes to me and they ask for me specifically, not just to walk in, I typically try to throw a little bit of my own artistic, or add my own artistic flair to whatever they want. Which is really just me drawing from a pool of experience over the years. I've been tattooing professionally 15 years, but 15 years before that I was a struggling artist. And so, you come to me with a design, and so I have to think about this. I have to think about, well, what's going to stay, what's going to hold up well and look good in the skin, design-wise, because tattoos can look good. Certain types of tattoos will look good for a short amount of time, and then as they age, they'll fall apart. So I think about that, because I've been tattooing long enough to see what a 15-year-old tattoo that I did looks like. And you take all these little things into consideration. Technical aspects like line and shading are big factors in tattooing, because a lot of times without line, a tattoo can start to dissipate and fade, because our skin is forever changing. I can't control how you take care of your skin. I also can't control what type of skin you have when we're doing the tattoo. So I have to take all that stuff into consideration. So when we're doing the tattoo...
And so then you created a stencil.
Yeah, I created a stencil. I went through... I actually took your very photograph. Mm-hmm. And I printed it out and I traced over top of it. And I did it using a piece of tracing paper. And what I did was, it was like a practice. I found out how I wanted to do the lines, making mental notes of how I was going to do the shading. Also thinking about how I was going to do the face, those details to make it actually look like a face and a buffalo.
Yeah, because see, I had been online and I'd seen some buffalo tattoos. Yeah. That I didn't, like I told you, I didn't want my buffalo to look like a groundhog.
Right. Right. So
even though I like groundhogs.
Yeah. Yeah. So we went through and of course that was a challenge. So for me the compromise was, I could do this in a very more traditional factor. That's kind of way over here maybe of what if someone didn't give me, if someone just said I want a buffalo, there's this, what I would do. But I have, I want this buffalo based on this photograph. So I kind of just meld them together. Plus, and you wanted some names added. So I have to think about how to do that. How do I add lettering to something and make it all look good rather than all your attention going to this lettering? Or in a lot of cases with tattoos, people will put lettering in just bad spots and it'll ruin the whole thing.
Yeah, I was impressed how you did the kind of the prairie grass underneath the buffalo and then tied in my parents' name to it.
Right, yeah. So that's me using what I feel, my decisions. I always say I pray to the tattoo gods and then I listen to them, and they usually tell me in many ways what to do. And
it's like Michelangelo, he would just... He'd see that big block of stone, marble, and then he'd just knock away. That wasn't part of the art.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to, the more you sit and just think about it, the more you're really just building a wall to have to get over. Mm-hmm. You sit down and you just kind of start putting pencil to paper, you immediately start working out these kinks that you were, mm-hmm. these things that you were using to build the wall. Just by taking action, you're sort of already disassembling the wall and pushing through and getting to where you got to get to. But yeah, that was, it was, and I enjoyed that tattoo when someone, because in that way it's a very collaborative piece. You know what I mean? Like technically you could say that your tattoo is artwork that you and I collaborated on. It's not just tattooed by me. Yeah. And every piece, every tattoo you do, especially if it's a custom work or whatever, the customer has to want it. They have to have this idea first before you get, I could have the craziest idea in the world, but I got to find somebody with an equally crazy enough that wants it.
Yeah, and I like how you put the stencil on, you carefully pulled it off, and you kind of left the image on it, and then you started, I guess, framing it, and you end up using 3 different machines, I think.
Yeah, I probably used... I consider myself a traditional tattooer. I use traditional tools, traditional machines, as opposed to a lot of these more, I don't even know how to describe them, but there are more interesting modern developments in tattooing but I have a sort of love for the traditional methods. Right down to all the tools, the needles, the machines, the tubes, all that stuff. I feel like, for me, I can't let go. I feel like it all helps to do what I do. And I don't think, they say what works best, is it the magician or the wand, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so, I use traditional machines. So, each machine that I use on your tattoo has been built and or tuned to perform a specific task. Mm-hmm. Just like your paint, not all paintbrushes are created equal. Not all tattoo machines are to do line
I have to
work.
admit, you know, whenever I saw the big needle, I was, oh, is this going to hurt him? But it really is. I think part of it, where we were talking and all that, I mean, you could feel that slight sting or something like that. But it was no big deal, and I think engaged in that conversation, you know, we had a great conversation while you were doing it. It made me feel very comfortable.
Yeah, that's the other art of tattooing, is the art of BS. You know, it's something that you just, the more you tattoo, I can remember, you see these pictures when I first started tattooing, we'd do shop group photos, and I was always the little quiet guy over on the side, you know, and people would always ask him, why is he so quiet, you know. But as you tattoo over the years and you get to know people, you learn things. Yeah. You know, everybody that comes in, they talk to me, depending on what their job is. You know, I tattooed a guy this a few minutes ago. He was talking about being a lineman in Puerto Rico. You know what I mean? He's from right around here, and he wants to get like an iguana tattoo, and is talking to me about all the stuff about iguanas in Puerto Rico, how they're like everywhere. You know, I learn this stuff from every person that comes in, and I have questions about it. You know, and then I have stuff that makes you kind of want to share. You know, I'm not really a social person. Like if you were to see me out in the world, I'd probably be very quiet. I mean, I'm like a wallflower. I tend to just hold up a wall somewhere or something. But when you're in here in my, you know, when you're in the tattoo room and I'm tattooing you, you know, we got to get along for a few hours. And and to me, that's the beauty of tattooing, is it really helped me to learn to understand everyone. No matter what your religion, your politics, your interests, you know, when you come down and sit down and a tattoo, you know, it's like we have to get along. They want to get along with me, I want to get along with them. And
I wouldn't want to make you mad with that needle in your hand.
That's something missing, though. I feel like that's missing in society anymore. It's getting more of where, and me and this guy even talked about it a little bit, to where, you know, if you got a difference of opinion, people are ready to write you off. But when you're in the tattoo chair, it's like we can talk and we can be, we don't have, you know, it's not an, you know, not an argument, not a debate.
John, talk about tattooing today. I know whenever I was growing up, there was a limited amount of friends of mine that went to Vietnam. Then you had you had certain people in the service, people, bikers, some sports celebrities. But then now it seems like everybody's getting, as they say, tats. So what's happening in our culture to?
Well, to a certain degree, that it's just more visible. Doctors and lawyers and people like that have actually been getting tattooed for a long time. You know, tattooing actually used to be kind of an exotic thing that people with a lot of money could only do. Could only go and get, you know, a tattoo. And it's kind of a myth that it's a biker thing, because there's accounts of Stoney St. Clair in 1980 just he was from a guy from West Virginia, was a sword swallower, learned to tattoo, you know, he joined the circus, ended up tattooing in near Columbus, Ohio, and there was a documentary made about him in 1980, and they interviewed the vacuum cleaner salesman that worked next to him. And the vacuum cleaner salesman was like, he said the exact same thing you just said to me. Like, these days it's doctors and lawyers and practitioners, and he was saying this in 1980, you know. So these folks have always been getting tattooed. It's just that now it seems kind of more acceptable because we're seeing it more. We got, you know, there's television shows, it's more in the media, it's more in the limelight. So it's becoming more socially acceptable.
Well, hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.